itself a message that if we only examine it carefully, we can draw from that כל מיני הוראות, instructions בנוגע to avodas Hashem in general, and b'negea to the kiyum of that yontiv b'miyuchad. So therefore, after having been married by that, in that a few siyafim, the Rabbi then goes on like this, and he says, b'shona zu, the kriyas is a very special type of shona, and b'shona zu means exactly the same kriyas that we have this year. In other words, the Shavuos, Chag HaAtzeres, came out immediately after Shabbos. It was on Yom Rishon and Yom Sheni. In Chutz La'aretz, it's 2 days. By us, it's only one. And so the Rebbe said, "B'shona zu boilet hakesher," the connection bein Chag HaShavuos l'Shabbat. V'chach shechag HaShavuos magia miyad la'achar Shabbat. Yeah, b'yom Rishon. Well, remember, that tends to indicate that to us that there's some very close connection in the way Shavuos and the way we're meant to be makabel the Torah in this year over year, when that occurs that way, indicating and stressing how Shavuos comes as a direct follow-on from Shabbat, which means that stresses a essential connection between Chag Matan Torah and Shabbos itself. V'oid lifnei kein, השייכות בין חג השבועס לשבס מודגשת בכך כבר בכך שמתן תורה הויה בשבת. The Rebbe said even more, even before the Kriyas came out like this, he said there's already a statement in the Gemara in Masechta Shabbos in the Sugya from Matan Torah that according to Kulei Alma B'Shabbos nitno Torah liYisrael. And that means like that there's a difference of opinion in the Gemara as to whether the Torah was actually given B'Shishi B'Sivan, that's the way we paskin Mapoyo, or B'Shvi in the 7th of Sivan. That's a difference of opinion between the Chachamim and Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion, and he learns that Moshe Rabbeinu added a talk in a certain place. Well, that's a big discussion in the Gemara without going into it right now. However, the Gemara says that both of them agree that even though they hold the Torah was given on different dates in the actual month, but both of them, Kulei Alma, agree that B'Shabbos nitna Torah, that the actual day in the week that the Torah was given was Shabbos. Just that they hold that on that particular year was 2 different dates. But they both agree that it was actually Shabbos. This one holds that Shishi was Shabbos, this one holds that the 7th day of Sivan was Shabbos. But anyway, both of them agree that the Torah was given on Shabbos. So since that's the case, we see that even before we get to the actual Kriyas of the week and the Kriyas of the month, that Shabbos is prior immediately to Chag HaShavuos, there's already a connection in the fact that the Gemara says that the actual Matan Torah and the actual giving of the Torah to Yid was on Shabbos. And that's according to everybody. Everybody agrees with that. And so from that we see that Shabbos and Matan Torah have a close connection one to the other, and that becomes more practically significant when they follow one the other like they do this year. V'abiyu ba'inyan, says the Rebbe, in Yonah shel Shabbos hu inyan hamanucha. The whole inyan from Shabbos, like the Gemara says, not the Gemara, the Medrash says that bo Shabbos bo manucha. The whole inyan of Shabbos was to bring gam legabi HaKadosh Baruch Hu kaviyachol shuhu shav v'nach b'yom hashvi'i, v'gam manucha in the whole bria, that the whole inyan of the Malchus Bria and all the things that were involved in that all ceased on Shabbos. And therefore the day of Shabbos is in its very essence a day of Menucha. V'kach, he says, Gam Matan Torah, if we look carefully, we see that Matan Torah also Pal Menucha Ba'olam. Just like Shabbos brought Menucha, in the same way, Matan Torah, when it was given, it also brought Menucha. Ha'olam k'shaliatzmoi, the olam in its own self, nivra ba'even shel shinui v'tnua. The world is made the way the Eibishter wanted it, and he created it was that everything is always altering and changing. For example, the Rabbi brings down, mostly in reference to time, he talks here, but he also brings down, there's a famous Rabbeinu Bechaya, what Rabbeinu Bechaya in his Pirush al Torah, it's well known, it's in Bereshis somewhere. Rabbeinu Bechaya says that everything is, how do you call it, depreciating. What's the word? It's how do you call it, rotting away, deteriorate.
Deteriorate.
Everything is deteriorate. So he says that
diminishing.
Rabbeinu Bechaya says that from the moment a tinoik is born, he already begins to deteriorate. As they try to Rabbeinu Bechaya, that the process which leads to gradual deterioration begins from the moment that you're born. So from the moment that we hit the world, we're under this process of what's called, how would you call it, depreciation or deterioration. And from that the Rebbe learns that everything is changing, everything is altering. But the main thing in where we see alteration is in time. The time, the moment which is before, and the moment now, and the moment immediately after are all different, and they're all moving, and they all have their own particular things that happen, or brought to, or will lead to, changing in situations, and changing in the nature and the makeup of everything. So he said, therefore the world is made in such a way that it's changing, and there's a movement in the change. He said, Hein mitzad klolasin and hazman, both mitzad the generality of time, but that leads to shinui hayomim. What they divided into three, as it were, categories, over hoive v'osid, the past, the present, and the future. But each of them indicates a further, as it were, development or alteration in the state of that particular creature. V'chein, said the Rebbe, mitzad hashinuim aprotiyim, similar to that, there are very individual and specific changes. Shall call nivra sha'oiva ta'apuch sheinet. He overgoes, how do you call it, all sorts of ta'apuch means like a reversal or a change, which can be even extreme. From briefly from one moment to the other. You'll have to excuse me. I just got a message. One of these things that's shutting off. It talks to you when it reaches the end of the battery. It says to you in a funny voice that's switching off. So I've gone dead in one ear. I'm sorry.
Lucky you.
They're working a lot better.
You get happier as you.
All of a sudden, this battery's shut. Anyway.
Last time you were much happier when you didn't have it.
We're learning about changes. So he says, "Shekol nivra oiva ta'apuches." Ta'apuches is almost like very opposite types and overturning types of situations. V'chein, said the Rebbe, mitzad chiluchei hadarges shalamokim. It depends very much. And it's put down in Drushe Chazal. The Friediger Rebbe brings it several times in his Maimarim, that the Gemara says that there were certain people that they could even taste the ground in their area. They used to taste the ground slightly, and they would be able to tell you what it's good for growing. If you plant this will grow well, because they were very familiar with that particular area, and their ancestors and everybody being brought up there, say they knew what that type of ground was good for. In another part of the world, it's another story altogether. Things like that wouldn't even grow. They wouldn't even dream of growing in that type of soil. It's amazing that it's written at the time of Baisheni, the Shomron, and all those areas. You've been in the Shomron, I suppose, you guys. it all looked sort of desolate and funny, you know. But in those days, you couldn't move. It had the greatness of the vineyards and all the trees bearing fruits and huge grapes and everything that people would take to taste just an ordinary fruit. They'd get sicker from it. They become drunk just from eating a pear. It was so powerful. Yeah, and everything. And the whole Shomron was just packed with all these things, even though there were certain kings in the Shomron who hadn't acted so well. Nonetheless, the Abishah gave these unbelievable brachas. Now you go over there, the whole place is just a lot of stones and a little bit of, so underground, a few trees and a few sort of nice little areas. But it's not, but Eretz Klal what it was like Bisman Bayesheni. So we see, so one of the guys out there in the Shomron, he told me that if you dig down under the surface, if you go down a little bit, you reach this unbelievable, beautiful soil. And he said if you were to plant anything in that soil, it would just grow, and be just unbelievably more than what you planted. It would be tremendous. So I said, well, why don't you guys, dig off all the surface and plant? So you know what the answer was? He said, the government doesn't allow it. Why doesn't the government allow it? Because it's frightened what the Arab will talk. Yeah, he's frightened what the Arabs are going to say, and they're going to say they want to be Davki Achrovim. They want it to be a destroyed Eretz Yisrael. And wherever they go, they destroy Eretz Yisrael. Wherever they, and the Ramban says in Pasha B'chukoisai, the Ramban says that Eretz Yisrael is like a faithful wife to the Jewish people. Anybody else comes along, she just turns away and any old how. When Yidden are here, then thinks that, and the Yidden want to develop it, comes along the government and says, oh no.
Yisod HaMalah, right over here where my family lives, usually topsoil is 6 inches, 8 inches, or if of topsoil in America, it's like, wow, buy it. It's as far down as you can dig is topsoil.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be a swamp.
It's only once the Goyim came in, then Eretz Yisrael turned its back neck to the Goyim. But the way it is, so what the Rabbi said, that there are big shinuim also from Mokim L'Mokim. So he said, Shekishurim im shinui eipach hamenucha, that things that are connected to a change and things are always altering is the opposite of rest. If you're always changing and things are always altering, then you can't really describe that as manucha. Manucha is in something that's, as it were, restful and doesn't involve the whole time drastic alterations. So therefore he says, "Ubetiltul b'kdei lahagia mimokim echad lemishneihu." The same thing, if you want to move around, you want to sort of go from one place to the other, a man, then that's a tremendous lack of manucha on the part of the man. And the Gemara said, the famous expression of tiltule gavra, that if you move from one place to the other, then it shakes you up and sets you into a state of unbalance. I know I traveled around the world quite a few times in my collecting money for Tolchei Tmimim and Kfar Chabad. But when you're moving around the whole time, even though you might stop in nice places, and bunches of people give you to stay in their houses, and they give you a nice towel, and they look after you and everything, but you don't feel at rest. You can't really feel, because you're saying, oh, tomorrow, well, the next day I've got to get that plane, I've got to move here, I've got to move there. So the evening of Tulei Gavra is a very hard thing. The Gemara says that's the hardest of everything. When you're moving around, that moves the person out of his whole, balance. And that's what the Rebbe means by manucha. If you're moving and you're in a state of change, even moving one place to the other, then you're lacking the basic concept of rest, of manucha. So he says, Miyacha v'Shabbos istayim ha'briya. So the Rebbe, since on Shabbos, that was when the whole Bria ceased. Harei sha'oz nirgisho b'chol ha'Bria kula al kol ha'chilukim shabo. But then it was felt, and all the different aspects of the Bria, and without taking into account all the tremendous variety of the Bria, it was all felt, Kavonas HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Bria. When the Bria finished being created, and Hashem sort of said, here's a day where there's no malacha anymore and everything is only ayin shel manucha, then everybody began, when I say everybody, I mean all the whole creation, including all the things, the vegetation, everything. And even to this day, science claims nowadays, that's what I heard, that trees have awareness, and they're aware of different things.
Yeah.
They have
Awareness.
They're aware of certain things, and they send messages one to the other, and all sorts of amazing things. And they even give off certain, like vibes, that you move into the air, and they alter, these vibes alter according to the mood of the tree.
Yeah.
In other words, how things are going with the tree, that's the type of vibe it gives around.
There's a book that's 30 years ago called The Secret Life of Plants.
Yeah.
About 30, 40 years ago, I heard about it.
That's what's brought down in the Kisvei Arizal.
Polygraphs, yeah. That they are sensitive to music. The ones that they play, Brahms, grow better.
Bad thoughts.
Or bad vibes, yeah.
Bad thought.
Yeah.
That's what's brought down in the Kisvei Arizal, that the Arizal understood what's called the Sichois or Ilonis. The talkings of the trees, that the Arizal was able to understand the messages that the trees were sending. One to the other, and it's written that the only person in history prior that understood Ad Kedi Kach was Shlomo HaMelech. It's written about Shlomo HaMelech in the Gemara that he understood the Sichois Ha'ilon.
The Baal Shem Tov.
Yeah. So I mean, certain great people, maybe, but the Baal Shem Tov was after the Arizal, not before. So anyway, says the Rebbe, what happens is that on Shabbos, all the chilukim of the Bria all wake up to the fact that they're aware. Even the trees and the vegetations, even the rocks and everything, they all woke up. Kavonas HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Bria. What is the Eibishter's purpose in the whole Bria? In other words, that there are two things. There's an act or an inyan that's done, and then there's the purpose. What is aimed at in that act? What are we looking for, or what was Hashem looking for, and everything? So the aim that was in the creation was to reveal himself to his created creatures, and to begin Diruvata. It hadn't yet completed yet. It was only the start of the whole amazing saga of the Bria, but it was already clear that Hashem, how do we say in davening every day, Baruch Hashem shebaronu lichveidai. Hashem has created us for His honor and His glory. Then that was Meir in the Bria at that time. People realized, I want to say people, the whole creation realized that Shehi kavana achas v'yechida shel kol hapratim kulam. All the details all add up to that one and only kavana. It's a united thing, and that's the inifan actors in the whole Bria, and that's the inifan Hashem echad. Kashem mizbareh shekol hapratim v'achilukim heim chelek mimatara achat. They're all a makeup of one goal, a one and only goal, to reveal Hashem's glory, and through that eventually for Him to dwell in the lower world. So he said, Harei Adova Mevi Manucha B'Kol HaBriot. So the Rebbe says that's what caused the Ika Bria, not just the stopping of Malacha. What caused the Ika Bria was that the whole creation, the Ika Manucha, slicha. What caused the Ika Manucha was that the whole Bria was aware what was everything about, what was killer the whole Kavana. It didn't just stop working or moving, but it began to realize what is the purpose behind the whole thing. So just a little bit later, the Rebbe says that if you know what you are doing, and what is the kavana, and what is behind what you are doing, then everything you do is b'manucha. You're at rest. And somebody who doesn't really know why he's alive, and what is he supposed to be, what is his real purpose, he's always running after something, hoping that he'll find some sort of pleasure or something that will make him feel good. Of somebody who knows what he's really doing and what is his real purpose, he's ruined. You know? He just gets ahead with the job. He said, "U'kapi sheroim b'feirush sheshabbos kashura imanucha b'shnei tchumim, zman u'makom." So the Rabbi said, we see openly with our eyes that Shabbos is made up with rest, and the idea of manucha in two territories, zman u'makom. So he said, "B'nageh l'zman yadua sheshabbos hi aliyah l'mayla me'azman." That's one on that even though the clock works on Shabbos, but really Shabbos is what's called l'mayla me'azman. In other words, that you have to feel both things on Shabbos. You have to keep a certain Seder, but you have to sort of feel that the Seder is just helping you to carry out what you would want to do. But really you're l'mayla me'azman. And you can reach things and you can achieve in your davening and your learning things that are much higher than the limitations of the world as they are in the weekdays. And therefore the Rogatchover brings down in one of his works, the famous, the Rabbi quotes it several times, the Rogatchover says that the whole inner of Shabbos is like a different, what the literature call a different chalois. It's a different sort of, makeup of an idea that on Shabbos it's like one big collective moment. The time on Shabbos is different than what it is in the weekday. It's like one infinitesimal unity of all the moments into one precious moment, and that's called Shabbos. These are the Rogatchover. And he upon him, the Rebbe says that we go on Shabbos beyond time. So how do we know that? So he said it's a person to prove why you're higher than time on Shabbos. So he says, "Shalochein betchilas hashavua haba matchilim limnois shuv yoim rishon. Yoim rishon l'Shabbos. Yom sheni l'Shabbos v'chein haloah. Kivan she'ein hei mahavim emshat l'shavua hakoidem. Me'achav ha'Shabbos hi l'mayla mebchinas hazman." What are we doing counting on every Sunday? This is the first day of the Shabbos. There's already been tens of thousands and millions of days. So what are we doing counting Yom Rishon the Shabbos? Rabbi says that on Shabbos everything goes up really beyond time. So when you start the new week, you're starting a new passage of time. You're starting a whole new Indian time. There you start off from the beginning again. And every Shabbos that goes up, l'mayla me'azman, so then we start off again. And so you always have these passages of 7 days, and each one of them is 1, 2, 3 in its own right. Why? Because it's not connected with the days that were there in the previous week. It's an amazing idea. The amount of kumtais that since you go up l'mayla me'azman, you start counting all over again. I thought somebody would have been a bit excited about that.
Well, I don't want to take your time.
That's a pretty bomber of a concept.
Doesn't that imply that Gashmiut is higher than Ruchniut?
Yeah.
And it's
also the same basic idea, that on Shabbos there's no real Gashmis in the normal way. Everything goes up, the whole world goes up to the Makabel from Hawaii Madraga. But he said, Yom Rishon, Yeva Shabbos, he l'mayla mebchinas hazman. V'chein, he said, b'mokim. We are also higher than place on Shabbos. How's that? So he said, it's written in the Torah that you're not allowed to go out of your place. As they state, Al yetze odom mim koimoi b'yom HaShabbat. As there's written a pasuk. So that expresses itself in the Isa Yetzia min HaTchum. You're not supposed to go out of the Tchum, how do you call it, the boundary of Alpine Mama, once you get to the end of a city. But as long as you're in the city, you can just keep going, however much you like, because that's all considered Mekuyim Cho, that's your place. So he says, Isa yitzir chutz l'tchum. But mashu mutar la'odem la'leches b'toich ha'tchum. If it's a big city, then he can walk around the place. Hu mishum shekol zeh niklal bim koimoi. That's called his place. He said, v'ein kan eva tilto v'nigud l'menucha. So if you're walking around in what the Torah considers your place, then that's still rest, because you're walking around. The Torah considers that rest, because you're walking around in your place. That's considered your place. When is kilo not rest? When you move into a new place, and you move into something else. That's the idea of going outside the realm, or outside the boundary, but that's called chutz l'tchum. Rabbi said the Rebbe Kunta is that Gam in Zman, we stay within certain areas and we don't move. I mean, Mokim l'Mokim on Shabbat. I think we got both Zman and Mokim are all different on Shabbat. He said, Kolima, that means to say, Amanucha Nasis Kasher Mitgaleh Berproti Habriya Kevonas Brios On. Yeah, so he said that when is it really applicable to talk about Manucha? He said, Davke, when inside the details of the Bria, it's revealed the purpose for what they were created. On Shabbos, since you go beyond them, then you have the ability to think and to reflect and to observe what is their real purpose. What are they all about? So he said, "V'inyan zeh na'asa b'Shabbat, u'b'taklis ha'shleimus b'matan Torah." So the Rabbi said, this is achieved on Shabbos, and with the most ultimate perfection, it was also achieved on Matan Torah. Kasher ismaleya ha'taklis shesholma nivra shelishmo nivra oilam. That when Matan Torah was given, then it reached the whole ultimate purpose for that name, for that aim, was created the world. And that's Matan Torah. V'azai nirz v'gilui u'mugeshes b'chol prate ha'olam oisha ha'taklis. That once Matan Torah was given, then it was revealed and it was felt by all the details of the creation, of that particular taklis, that particular ultimate aim for what the world was created. When the whole world realizes what was it really all created for and what's it all about, then the whole world is, as it were, reaching a state of rest. The whole world is shy to our inyan and rest. So the Rebbe says it's well known that Matan Torah was recognized in the whole world. Everybody realized that the Torah had been given. And it's written in the Gemara that even in all the Goyisha countries, people realized that something very unusual had happened, and they went to Bilam. Because he was a big nob then. It was like a novi. Lahavdil by the Goyim, and they said, what's going on, what's happened here? And he said, Hashem oiz li'ama yutein, Hashem yivorim, esami b'sholim. He had no braille but to say that Hashem has blessed his people, and he's brought to them peace, because he's given Torah to the whole world. So we see that he expressed the word sholem. But sholem is the idea of shleimus, and shleimus is connected, when you have perfection, then you can rest. It's connected with the idea of coming to a state of rest. He said, "V'advarim nikorim gam b'pashtus advarim." He said, these things are recognizable also in simple terms. B'teva b'nei odom, shekasher u einu magish es hakavona v'ataklis b'chayom ozu b'matzav shel choisa sheket u'manuva. When a man doesn't really know what he was doing here. I remember when I was in university, he had all these big intellectuals, and they used to be saying the whole time, what's it all about? What are we doing here? They used to say, what's the world created for? So they would, drink another half a bottle of wine or something. In those days, they weren't drugs, or they would go with sugar and crazy in some other way, and they were looking for what's the meaning and what's the purpose, what's it all aiming. So they were in a state of continuous movement. They weren't at rest. They were impatient the whole time because they didn't know what's it really all about. But the Rebbe said, once you know, however, and it's already been revealed to you, and you know what is the purpose of your being here, then you enter a state of manucha. You're in a permanent state, as it were, of manucha. So he said, ועניין זה נעש, הוא אינו מרגיש את הכוונה, והתכלס בחיו, אז הוא במצב של חויס השקט ומנוחה. And I saw that foolish, I saw it by big people, guys with big brains, that they understood all sorts of inyonim in science and in philosophy and all sorts of matters. But they weren't, they were always impatient, they were always looking for something. But the Rebbe said, "V'dav kikasher hu chosh es hatachlis v'hamatorah." When a man realizes what is the ultimate purpose and what is the aim of everything, azay yesh le menuchas hanefesh u'menuchas haguf. Not only he has menuchas hanefesh, even though he might be busy, but he's at rest. He's not impatient and pushing all the time to find out where's he really going, what's he all about. Yeah, so he also has menuchas haguf, even if he may be busy. והמנוחה שלו היא משפיע ומביא מנוחה גם לכל העולם כולו. He said a man like that brings menucha to everybody around. So if he's from a yid and he meets up with a goy and the goy says to him, you know, what's going on around here? And a lot of people are asking that nowadays. Many of the goyim are into that question. So what does he do? He explains the union of the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noah. How do you call it? The seven commandments of the seven commandments of the non-Jews, that they've been that the Eibusher gave them right at the beginning of the Bria their inyonim, what their taxes is. So if he's a person that he himself is in a state of menucha, then he helps the whole world around him also to come to a inyan shel menucha. And if a non-Jew realizes what he's about and what he's really doing, what's his real in, so he also quietens down. He finds his inyan of menucha as well. V'tachlisi shemevchina zu shel menucha. The tachlis is, the Rebbe said, that from this inyan of menucha, tushpa ha-menucha gam lo isam protim shel zman u'mokim ha'chruchim b'shinuim. So the Rebbe said the ultimate shleimus is that you have to take that menucha that you got through knowing what is the tachlis of everything, and you bring that both into time and into place, but they're like the two main building factors of oilam. They lead to the inyan of shinui. So he says, "Kisheim shemishavas mizbochim kol yemei hashavua." Just in the same way that we see Shabbat blesses all the days that come after it, like it's written in the Zohar Kodesh, that every day gains a special bracha from the Shabbos before it. Kasha oiskim b'inyanei ha'olam. That even though the guy may be busy with things that have to do with the world, and they involve moving around, and if he keeps Shabbos and he knows what Shabbos is all about, and Shabbos helps him to go beyond those inyonim to see what is the whole purpose, then he gives the inyan of that menucha even into things that change the whole time. Dahainu Ishman Kaloiman. Says the Rebbe, that means to say that b'avodas Hashem yeshnam yekama shlovim v'dargas, that in serving the Eibusher, the different stages and levels one after the other. They said the highest form of reaching a certain balance and a certain elevation in avodas Hashem is kasher nirgeshes b'kol inyoni avodah ha'nukuda ha'achas. The Rabbi says when is the perfection of a person's Avodah? When he comes to what is the ultimate inner nakuda of all that he's doing. He may be serving Hashem in davening, he may be serving Hashem in learning, he may come to Ahava, he may come to Yira, he may come to Yira Shamayim in a lot of his personal inyanim. Where he said in the middle of all that there's one like central Etzem Dika Nakuda. So the Rabbi said, what is that? Avoida Nakuda Ha'achas Shalamayla Me'eschalchas Ani Loi Nivreisi Elel Shamash Eskoini. That's a Mishnah at the end of Masechta Kiddushin. What the Mishnah says that a mensch has to come to the realization that he wasn't created only to serve the Eibusha. In other words, that your whole being in this world is only to serve Hashem. So once you know that, then everything you do is in the form of Avodah Hashem. You know that your whole being is only to serve Him, so you find the way to serve Him in everything you do. And that's the infamy called D'rochecha Do'ehu, that you come to know Hashem in every Indian that you do, because you know that your whole creation was only to serve the Eibusha. So the Rebbe says, goes on to say that that's what happened, in Matan Torah. That when Matan Torah came into the world, that came in an even higher way, because then everybody in the whole world became in a state of rest, like it's written in the Gemara on the pasuk in the way the Gemara says that Eretz Yoro v'Shakoto, that the world was shaking with fear and with uncertainty, and then it became quiet and settled. So the Gemara says that Eretz Yoro, when it was in a state of uncertainty and movement the whole time, that was before Matan Torah. But on the day of Matan Torah, Shokato, the world came to quiet and to rest. The whole world. Why? Because it was revealed what is the tachlis of everything. Alidei Matan Torah, Ani Loi Nivreisi Ela L'Shamash Eskoini. Now over there in the Mishnah, in Masechta Kiddushin, over there are two what we call girsois, two like texts in the Mishnah. What one text says, Ani Nivreisi L'Shamash Eskoini, that I was created to serve my owner. And there's another girsa which is brought at the side, that's the one the Rabbi brings here. Ani Loi Nivreisi Ela L'Shamash Eskoini. I wasn't created only to serve the Eibusha. So that's two different things. The first girsa says, I was created to serve. The other one said, I wasn't created only to serve. So what's the difference? No, come on, you guys. What's the difference? It's a negative with a positive, a positive with a negative. Absolutely. What's the chilik? The first one says, I was created, and I was created to serve the Eibusha. The second one says, Ani Loi Nivreisi. I wasn't created. In other words, I'm a useless, unexpressible. I have absolutely nothing. I'm not here. Ani Loi Nivreisi. Comes along somebody and touches him and so on. Oh, you look as if you're here. Oh, he says, I'm here. Ela, I'm only here for one and only purpose. The Shamash is going. The Loi leads into an Elo, and the word Elo is a all-exclusive word which says, I'm only here in order the Shamash is going. The Rebbe finds that in Pirkei Avos, at the end of Perek Chamishi, right near the end of Perek Hamishi, it says that Yehuda ben Tamar, you guys are familiar with the Mishnah, Yehuda ben Tamar. By the way, Yehuda ben Tamar is buried over here in Dalton, here on the top of a mountain. Most beautiful. You ever been to his cave? It's absolutely mind-blowing. Anyway, Yehuda ben Tamar, Oima, he says you have to be like run like a deer, and you have to be fierce like a lion, and you got to be brazen like a leopard.
Bold as a leopard.
Last is routine. You have to do the will of the Eibusha in heaven. Your aviva, routine aviva sheba shamayim. So the Rebbe said there's two things here. First, he reckons out a lot of details, and then he said you got to do the will of your Father in heaven. So the Rebbe said that there's like details which are the detailed mitzvahs, and then the detailed mitzvahs, they also have certain details that lead to other details, and it's a whole sort of, what he called complex like makeup. But there's one point in the middle where it's all to do the will of the Eibishter. In other words, that your Ika commitment in Torah as you go to the Eibishter's will. So the Eibishter said today you do this and this, and Shavuos, you get up and you stay up the night and this, you learn this, you can do this. What is that? That's what the Eibishter will. That's Kilo Ratzoyin. So our devotion in the mitzvahs is not just to the details of the mitzvah. Our devotion is to the Ratzon. We've got to give ourselves away to the one and only Nakuda that we do the Ratzon of Hashem. That comes down into details of a Veda, and sometimes you got to be like a deer, sometimes you got to be like a lion, sometimes you got to be like a leopard. It demands different reactions and different things. And therefore I remember one of my mashpim that I was Zeichen no, Rabbi, he said that in everything we do, before we do it, he said, in Yiddish is midaf, fragen bei dem Eibishter, was ist sein Interest, was will bemisst What's the interest for the Eibishter? Mahu vemet rotzeh, mahu michafez. It could be that I'll do it a little bit different. I'll do the same as everybody, basically, but maybe I'll do it in a slightly different way, because I want to know what does he really want in such a situation. And we always have to ask ourselves, what would Hashem really want of me? Not, what could I find a way in some sefer or some place to say I should do this and I should do that. I have to try and work out in my mind what is the real will, what does Hashem really want of me in this particular situation. It might involve that I have to be like a lion, or it might involve the opposite, I have to be like a sheep or something like that. It can involve different things, because I'm devoted to what is Hashem's will. So the Rebbe said that's the the central point of Aini, Loini Bracia. I'm not here. I'm only, if I am here, somebody pulls me by the shirt and says, you are here. Yeah, I'm only here to do the will. To serve him, to do what he really wants. And the Rebbe said that's Manuka. If you come to that point in life, and you go according to that, then he said you got it. You're abreast.
That's the Madrega of Rav Yossi in the Gemara. Does he bring it down here of Rav Yossi? He was blind.
He came up with Madrega, but it's not the Gemara. It's an amazing story, and that's why I'm going to finish the SHIUR.
Okay,
I don't have any more. I got hundreds of things to do, and I don't want to curse. So we're going to say L'chaim, but it's like this. There's an amazing Gemara. Zoya. In Parsha Bolach, and it's written there a story about Rabbi Yossi, and I think it was Rabbi Barabba, also one of the other Chokmei Zoya, I can't remember exactly the name, and they were going on Aknosas Kala. They were going to find money for a poor bride that she needed to put her under the chuppah. So they learned from that Oisik B'mitzvah mitzvah. And since they were so busy with that, there were certain other mitzvahs that they didn't do, because Oisik B'mitzvah, mitzvah. So all of a sudden they meet up with a Yanoika. You guys know that in the time of the Zoya, there was the Alter Rebbe brings it in Tanya, in Perek Lamed Hey, then he builds the whole part of Tanya till the end, from Perek Lamed Hey on that there were these small teenagers, that he called them like young children, small kids, that were gifted with Nevuah, and they gave a prophetic statement, and so on. So Chassidus says that how come kids became Nevi'im? So since Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai had revealed such an amazing Gilui of Panimis HaTorah, then that sort of spread out all over and all around. And if you're clean, then you can chop it. And he said, there's nothing cleaner than a child. Yes, and a young child is completely clean. So they chopped this amazing Gilei Lakus, which had been nimshik in the world, and therefore they became like Naviim. They said, so all of a sudden Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Barava, they bang into one of these Yonikers. And Rabbi Jesus said to Rabbi Jesus, you have to be careful, this kid, he's hot stuff, this child. So all of a sudden the child walks up to him and he goes like that, and he smells, and he said, you guys haven't said Krishma today. He didn't say Krishma. That's what he said to them.
The kid said.
It's good no?
So their eyes jumped out of their heads, and I said, wow, you happen to be right. We didn't say Krishma today. And then all of a sudden they said, well, we have an excuse. We have an excuse that since we're sukim kol hazman b'mitzvah, then oisiv b'mitzvah potem in a mitzvah. And therefore, so he said, I smell in the reich of your garments. That's what he said. I smelled in the reich of your garments that you didn't say Krishna. So they were, they sort of start shaking their garments. He didn't say Krishna. He said, "Oh, ani Maria, Maria levushaychu, shatem lo karatem Krishna." Very.
It's good deodorant.
So they said that our mitzvah, potem in a mitzvah. So he said that's all fine in all the mitzvahs except for Kriyat Shema.
But also Rabbi Yossi was blind. So he he didn't have to do any of the mitzvah except Shema.
But you're right about that.
Yeah, he was blind. That's a good thing to know.
I'm not sure if it's the same Rabbi Yossi as
the one that's
it could be.
The Ruach HaKodesh.
I'm not sure about that.
He didn't have to, but he did. That's why he.
But it could be the same Rabbi Yossi. It could be.
Yeah.
Anyway, what happened was that he said that's all by other mitzvahs. He said, but not by Krishna. So it comes from the Rebbe, and the Rebbe's got a footnote there in the Sikha. There's a whole mimer from the Rebbe Marash about this, by the way, in Tov Reish Kov Teth. Over here, the Rebbe brings down in the footnote, the Rebbe said, what's so special about Kriyat Shema? I mean, all the mitzvahs sort of coil in themselves all the other mitzvahs. And therefore, if you're oisik with one mitzvah, you got all the other mitzvahs, therefore you're potter min a mitzvah. But what's this in that Krishma is different? So he said that Krishma is the bittul to the rotzen of the Eibishter. Pink to say, by matan Torah. What did they do? Kabbalahs, Hakdomas, Naisele, Benishma. So he said, what is Hakdomas, Naisele, Nishma? That you're looking for the will of Hashem. You devote yourself to one and only Inyan. What is your will? Mahu Rotzeh. All the other Inyanim don't interest me. And he will tell it up, Mahu Rotzeh Mimeni. And there he brings us in Likutei Torah, Pasuk Bahar, and also Pasuk Shlach Lecha, the Alter Rebbe writes that if the Eibusha would have told us to gather water, to schlep water for all the generations, we would have done that b'simcha. We would have done it with the same Kabbalah itself that we sit in the sukkah of Moshe. They translate. What is that? Why? Because we would be and we are devoted only to what is His will. You remember, whatever His will is going to be, that's it. Kriyat Shema is the one mitzvah that Hashem gives. We give ourselves pure way to His will. We devote ourselves to His will, and that sets the tone for the whole day. And there are all the other mitzvahs that call in that. But if you devote yourself to Ratzon, that's what Yehuda ben Taimah says. He says, Yehei, all those pratim, or what is the Sachako? La'asis Retzin Avicha Shabbat not la'asis mitzvahs Avicha Shabbat la'asis Retzin Avicha. You have to find out what is the emes of Ratzon. Remember, that's what it's all about. That's the emes of Menucha, and that leads to Matan Torah, and that's what it's written by Mashiach. It's written, Shabbos SHIUR Menucha L'chayei Eilomim. That on Shabbos we mention, in benching and in other places, we mention that Shabbos is also leading to another type of Menucha, which is even higher than that Menucha, or Shabbos Menucha L'chayei Eilomim. Yeah, Manu for everlasting, and that's the union for Moshiach. Miller, Matan Torah, and Shabbos are all together. They're all a huge partnership, and they're leading essentially and directly into Moshiach.
Amen.
Kenny Rod song.
Keep it. Don't give it back.
Yom Haledet. You got Yom Haledet.
Mazel tov. Simon tov.
Yaakov's got the outside. Yaakov has a double the outside. His sister and his mother passed away on the same time.
Why do I have two glasses?
There's a Mishnah in Brachas, a Chassid is part of a Grishma.
Who?
A Chassid.
We don't know him.
Aber noch mal, es ist halt der Mesor. Azor mal,
because of the privacy of the matter, I can't connected with a certain.
Gafne. Oisik betzorchit Zibur is Oisik betzorchit Zibur
Yeah.
is for the poor.
Yeah, I know. That's what they said to him. But he said, apple cocaine, I can smell it. So the Rabbi said, what smells is a mat. Everything's right, everything's fine, but it's also a level of normality. The same is in the book, it's the great
from Gafne.
You know, you're putting your finger inside. Bacteria from tough luck.
He said Moshe Rabbeinu.
They couldn't figure what's he up to.
Well, you said Moshe Rabbeinu made an extra day. Moshe Rabbeinu, in the beginning, you said he made an extra day. And then you skipped over that. Could you say more about that?
Assume.
Moshe Rabbeinu added in another day.
Oh yes, according to Rabbi Yosh.
Atmosphere.
When was it?
According to Rabbanan, and we passing that way. According to Rabbi Yosh, he did. But for Miller, there's a whole meaning. Why did he do that? And how come he did it? It's you understand, you got to be Moshe Rabbeinu, and then we'll be able to know what he did.
Get a diaper for the baby?
Okay, guys, so let's get together and say the Chaim.
So Inca little, what's the matter? You don't love me? It is wine.
Oh, this one.